So my memory is 21 years ago, probably a little longer than that, 21 and a half years ago, when I decided I wanted to marry this beautiful girl next to me. My hell, what a way to start. Okay, I'm good. I went to Cleon to ask for his permission to marry his daughter, and he got all serious and looked me in the eye and said, "Well, that's fine, just so you know though, there are no returns." And so I haven't returned her yet. I still got her and I have no regrets. And so that's my memory I'll share of Cleon.
I'm glad you haven't returned me.
Yes.
I have so many, don't know where to start, but cold hands from coming in and working on the farm. You'd put them down our neck and it's freezing cold.
And now she puts her cold feet on me all the time, and cold hands.
The many snowmobile trips to Tony Grove. I know some of your buddies were complaining about you taking your daughters, but I feel like we kept up pretty good on the snowmobiles. The horseback rides, several horseback rides in the mountains. One in particular stands out, but you know about that one. I should have gone first because now I forgot some of mine. Oh yeah, I remember you'd always make fun of Mom because she cried over everything, and then as you got older, you cried over everything.
And now I'm starting to cry over everything too. It happens, I guess, with girls. We had a lot of girls, and I have not near that many. They make me cry.
You always complained that you were bald because of all the daughters you had, but looking at your wedding picture, you were bald before they even came, so anyways.
That's not a thing to come for me.
Oh, so I can think of right now what I can talk about. We're gonna miss you and we love you.
My name's Dale Bright. I used to work for Wind Feed, and occasionally our power would go off, and as we were making the lick tubs, we had to keep the molasses moving or it would sit up in the line, so we had to run over to Cleon's and get his tractor and his generator and hurry and bring it back and wire it into that pump so we could get the pump going and pump the molasses. So he was a lifesaver, letting us borrow that tractor and generator all the time. So we really appreciate him.
I think one of the coolest, or not so much coolest, but one of the funnest things I remember about Grandpa's, he'd always walk inside, whether it be summer, winter, any time of year, he'd always have cold hands, always, without a doubt, no fail. And he'd reach his hand down and back behind the neck of your shirt and put his cold hands on you, and everybody, every time would be like, "Don't touch me," and he'd keep doing it no matter what.
So what would he always give you when you came in the house? Cookies. Cookies, yeah. And where did he always hide them?
In the cupboard.
In the cupboards, huh? What do you remember about Grandpa?
Yeah.
Nothing?
That, huh? You were always trying to scare you.
I like cookies.
Yeah, he loves cookies, huh?
I love Cookie Monster.
You are a Cookie Monster. I don't have like a specific memory of Grandpa. Mine is always his little quirky trick. Like, he'd always play when you would feel bad or sad about something. He's like, "Let me play the world's smallest violin." And whenever he'd pretend to be asleep and then he would snarl at you. Do you remember that? Yeah. And he would just always, whenever Grandpa was around, you always looked over your shoulder because he'd put his cold hands down your back of your shirt, or he'd try and scare you. He did that to me when I was little.
I guess one of my favorite memories is when we got the opportunity to live with them. They made us feel just at home, and did whatever they could to help us feel welcome.
Just watching, yeah. And he always made sure, like, Jordan was working late at nights, and he would always, "When's Jordan gonna be home? Is he doing all right?" And he just really cared about every single one of us, and he made sure that each grandchild, he may not have been the one that always said love you or anything, but you knew you were loved, and that's what we loved most about Grandpa.
Every time I'd come home from work, he'd always perk up and ask how the day went. Wanted to know every little detail about everything that was going on. So definitely made you feel loved and wanted.
Do you have anything else you want to say about Grandpa? No? I just remember, we went up on a horse ride up to the Tony Grove yurts, and he carved mine and my little brother's name. So it's been fun to go back up there and see that and have that memory to go back up there, because he loved Tony Grove a lot. So
Look at the camera and say we love you, Grandpa.
say we love you and miss you.
Love you.
Love you, Grandpa, huh? Say love you.
Love you, Grandpa Cookie Monster.
Grandpa
Cookie Monster, yeah.
He's a Cookie Monster.
Yes, he is a Cookie Monster, huh?
Ah.
Okay, I'm Doug Hansen, and this is my wife Janet. And I've known Cleon since I was a little kid. He was my bishop when I went on a mission, and I went on snowmobile rides with him and his daughters, and Denise was my age, and I farmed with Chris, and I run Cleon's Columbine for 2 or 3 years. And anyway, a lot of fun memories with Cleon. Went hunting with him, I think, a time or two. And anyway, he was about the same age as my dad, and they used to chum around a lot together. And anyway, so.
And I just moved in, married Doug, and moved to Smithfield. But I always thought it was so cool. I'd never seen a farmer ride a motorcycle around town. So he was so awesome to me as the motorcycle farmer. That's my best memory of him. Thanks. Good luck.
I remember when he used to throw me over his knee and then give me how many ever spankings I was. Then I'd stand up and he'd give me a little pinch.
To grow an inch.
I remember when he came to one of my softball games and started yelling at me because they made a bad call. I remember when he'd always give us birthday spankings. Depending on how old I was, he would give me that many spankings.
I remember that when I was younger, he used to tickle me all the time and just tease me. I would just call him the tickle grandpa, and I was kind of scared of him because he used to just tickle me all the time.
Okay, it was really fun to see Grandpa Chambers when he was sitting outside when we were going Christmas caroling and all wrapped up in his blanket. It was so fun the time that we went on when we went and sang Christmas carols on that sleigh that was with horses. That was so fun.
My name is Jason Polson. I moved to the west part of Smithville when I was 14 years old, and Dad knew Cleon and Chris, and as a young man, they felt like I needed to have a job and work in the summertime and move pipe and milk cows and stuff. And so I went to work for him, and I think I got my first paycheck and realized I was making $2.50 an hour. That's $2.50 an hour, and it wasn't really the money that was the principle. It was the lesson that I learned of working hard. Milked cows for them, and we had a lot of fun. As in the dairy, you know, they taught me a lot, feeding calves, and anyway, it was a great experience. Lots of memories with Chris. I've been sworn to secrecy on a few that I wouldn't share, but better not say that. And learned a lot of colorful words on the dairy as well. But that's my experience, and I'm glad I had it. Cleon's a great man, and I appreciate everything that he taught me in our association. And even after all these years, I'm grateful that I was able to get to know Cleon, and Chris and I are still good friends, and I'm grateful for that friendship and that relationship. So that's all I've got, and hope the best for the family, and appreciate everything.
So
about 10 years ago, I did the 100-mile race, the Bear 100, up and starts in Logan and goes over to Bear Lake. But when I rode into the parking lot, when I ran into the parking lot at Franklin Basin, one of my friends that was with me, Corey Schaefer, he said, "Hey, you better go talk to Chris." He said, "Cleon's up here and he's yelling at all the runners," because they were up elk hunting and they were in a wall tent up there. So Cleon was out there. All of a sudden, they're up there doing their elk hunt, and all the runners showed up into the parking lot. And Cleon had a little bit of a meltdown, and the rumor is he said a few like choice words and stuff, and was planning on dragging people's cars out of his way. So that was the night before. I ended up finishing the race Saturday, and then Sunday morning, that's where Gibbons comes in.
So Sunday morning, I was done doing the chores and headed home, and there was a couple bull elk in our field, and I knew that Chris and Cleon had tags. So I made a phone call to Chris and told him that we had a couple bulls over here if they hadn't filled their tags. And so that was about 7:30 or 8 in the morning, and kind of hung out and waited and watched until about 11, I think, when they got over there to do it. We was in the cornfield, and we set Cleon at the pivot point, or the pivot on the tower.
He was up on the pivot tower with Jason.
And then Chris and Jared and I walked through that cornfield and pushed the bull out into the hay.
Yeah, we just hazed him out. You could see his antlers going through the corn, and so we just hazed him out, and Cleon shot it.
So yeah, it was a fun experience.
Yeah, it was really fun. Awesome experience until we got back to the house, the Chambers residence, Sunday afternoon, and Annette did not talk to me for at least 2 years. And so Gibbons, she just found out he was in on it too, so he's probably off the list.
Hope so, but it was a fun experience.
Yeah.
I know I'd hunted hard that week, not that much luck, and so to get one in a field that we could get the tractor to.
The Lord gave it to him.
Yeah, it was perfect.
So, perfect.
My name is Mandy Gibbons, formerly Clark. Me and Amy have been friends many, many years. Very good friends. I have lots of memories of getting busted sloughing school. We'd always be at the stoplight, headed up Logan Canyon during road construction, and Cleon pulled up behind us, or any stoplight it seemed like. We were always getting caught sloughing school. Cleon and Annette were the biggest fans at the softball games. They were to everyone, and I'd always hear him say, "Put Chloe back into pitch," because she was so good, and they were her #1 fans. I remember riding in the pink Monte Carlo. By the time Amy got it, only one door opened, so we'd all have to crawl in through the passenger side door, and we'd get driving it to lunch and rock it back and forth, and it got just a sway, and it was fun. But I have lots of good memories of Cleon and the Chambers family.
I think one of my favorite grandpa stories is when he killed his elk out in Lewiston, and he ended up shooting it twice, and we couldn't find 2 bullet holes, and he kept bragging about how he was such a good shot and he hit it in the same bullet hole both times.
I think one of my favorite memories about Grandpa is him trying to beat the other old man up to the gun range for the brass. It got to the point he had to bust out a headlight to beat the other guy up there, and that's one of my favorites. So many with him.
Okay, hey, my name is Ken. I'm Ron's brother. Back when I was 18, 19, 20, somewhere around there, I was living out with Ron and Lisa in the trailer house on the farm. And every once in a while when I'd get done working for Logan City, I'd help around there, whatever was going on. And we were filling up one of those big ag bags, and we were all there working and filling it in. And the bungee cord that we had going up over the bag to hold it on to the implement was putting a crease in the bag. And at one point the bag just split all the way open for a long ways down it. And when Cleon came back, we were trying to stretch that back and tape it up. And we were just kind of wasting time, and Cleon was pretty hot because we just ruined an ag bag. And he asked us what we were doing. We told him, and he told us that he would have went down and got drunk at the bar before he'd have tried to fix it that way. So it was kind of funny, but he was mad at the time. But I've always remembered him saying that. That's it. Appreciate you guys. You're awesome.
I remember Brother Chambers as my bishop, Bishop Chambers. He was the bishop before I got married. Your dad and grandfather and of course husband is one of the best men I've ever known. His kindness, his gentleness, and his concern for people were unmatched. I remember the wonderful times that they came home teaching to our family, and Jason would come with his grandpa. What wonderful home teachers they are. Your family's a great family. It was wonderful to be able to grow up in the same ward with them.
My first, well, I would describe Cleon in a word: genuine. I don't remember the first time I met him because I lived in Smithfield like they did and met all kinds of people. But he was a self-deprecating man. Haven't worked with anybody humbly, I don't think. I served for a couple of years in high priest group leadership with him, and he always questioned his ability to be in a leadership position. I always told him, you belong here because you got experience, you love people, and you don't judge them. You never judged anybody that I saw. And I can echo what Marjorie said. He was a great home teacher, great friend, and he reminded me a lot of my father. Honest, forthright, what you saw anywhere is what you got. In the store, at home, church, the temple. Just a great man.
Whenever it was somebody's birthday, he always gave us birthday spankings. And I don't know why, but I just remember every of my birthday parties when I was 1 to now, he's always gave me birthday spankings. And when it was his birthday, we didn't have enough hands and toes to count all of it. So instead he gave me how many he remembered. He gave me them instead of us giving him them on his birthday. It was so fun.
I just remember Grandpa always teasing me because I couldn't see over the windowsill in their living room. So he'd always have to lift me up to see out the window. Then every time we were writing on the whiteboard, he would tease me because my tongue was always out. So.
Now Slade's tongue's always out, so
Yeah.
that's where he got it from.
So.
I remember Grandma and Grandpa always having a good sense of humor. I always teased Grandpa when he first got his walker that was his race car. And I remember going over there one day for lunch and asking him how his race car was, and Grandma said, well, if that's his race car, it sure doesn't go very fast, or he needs to learn how to drive it better. So they always were good for a good laugh.
Yep. My probably most favorite memory of Grandpa is when I was little, we would always like fight whoever got to choose the TV channel, so we'd always hide the remote from each other. And then Grandma would come like after I had left and went home and have to call me and be like, Kenzie, where'd you leave the remote? Because Grandpa couldn't find it. And I always make her go and find it because I would not give up my hiding spot for that remote. And I'll never forget like our fight over the remote in the TV channel.
You know, it's an honor to be able to remember such a great man. there's a lot of memories I have. It's great to be in this family. One of the biggest memories that I have, and it has to do with Mackenzie, because he would always say, what Mackenzie wants, Mackenzie gets. He had that little saying that it just stuck with us, and we're always still saying that. So it's a memory we'll never forget, but I'm glad to have this opportunity, and there's a lot of memories, but that's the one I think of the most.
One of my funnest memories about Cleon is when he would ride his motorcycle up and down the road with the shovel behind.
Yeah.
I love that. I always loved seeing him, and he'd always give us rides. Another memory that is a fond memory, but I don't know that I love it, is he would always tickle me, and I'm pretty certain that I peed my pants a few times.
Yeah.
But I still loved him, and I don't know, I just love you guys so much, and we just love you.
Yeah. What I loved about Cleon was he let me go in his barn, and I used to get to milk with the girls.
Yeah, he used to let us
Because Grandpa wouldn't let us milk in our barn because we weren't boys. And so
That's a
I got
favorite
to,
memory.
yes, because
That's a
I got
horrible
to
memory
milk.
for us.
I got to milk with Stacy and Shelly, and Cleon would let us. The other thing I remember is he used to always grab us right here, but I loved it.
I know.
So I loved us.
So probably one of my favorite memories is having the tramp in the backyard, because we didn't ever have a tramp.
They were dangerous.
Yeah,
Yes.
still are.
So we got to come over and go to the fun chambers.
Yeah.
And jump on the tramp.
Yep.
And so I always remember we'd always go snowmobiling. You guys would come over, and because we never had
Ooh, the
snowmobiles
kitty
either.
cat.
And the kitty cat. And
Yeah.
we'd get to
Right.
go tubing, and you guys would take us tubing, and then we always got to go in your house, and it was always warm because it had a wood burning stove, because
Yeah.
we couldn't have ours because of Kristen.
Yeah. True.
And there was always Ovaltine served. We never got Ovaltine in our
Yeah,
house.
that was the best.
So,
Oh, that was the
and I
best.
also remember the tramp of Stephanie always beating the crap out of us. And it would be me and Wes and Otis against Stephanie. And about 95% of the time, we still lost, the three of us against Steph.
It was pretty much 100% of the time.
But,
Yeah.
and one of my favorite memories too is always being the first blonde in the chambers on our side. Is I got teased about being Cleon and Annette's, and it's turned out that it worked out for the best for me.
We all joked that we always wanted to live on the other side of the road in that house.
We all joked that they had a lot of kids and they sent us across the street.
But yes, we do love you all,
Yes,
and it's good to see you all.
I would just say a lot of the memories that I have with Grandpa are a lot of little memories of him just showing up for my basketball games and everything that I've done, my school things, everything like that. And he was just always there and always supporting me. And I remember playing basketball at Skyview and looking up and seeing him crying because I had just done something. And with all of his grandkids, he always cried whenever we did anything, or every single time that I made a basket, he would cry. So obviously I tried to make him cry as much as I could. But I think that's just like the biggest thing that I'll always remember and love about him, was how much he showed up and how much he supported and loved us. So
Yeah, I have the same feelings with that, where he was coming to games and showing up and stuff. And then I remember, because we lived next door, I would always go to their house and ask them what's for dinner. You know, like, what are you having for, like, I just always wanted to eat at their house, like with Grandma and Grandpa. And then working on the farm, going out and sitting in the trucks to, like, when they would, I can't even talk, when they would go out into the fields and whatever, do farming stuff, and we would ride in the big trucks, Blue Thunder, on the motorcycles, and, you know, walkie-talkies back and forth, you know,
Blue Thunder to home base, all that stuff. So it was really fun growing up on the farm, and then like she said, he'd always be there, coming to games and stuff. So I just really like how much he was there to support his family, and you always knew that he cared. So, like she said, lots of little memories.
Got anything, Ruby?
Yeah, and then the birthday spankings, like even when you were like 15 years old, he's like, all right, let's get your spankings, and then he'd do the pinch.
Always teasing us, always tickling
hands,
our feet.
cold hands down your shirt, like the back of your shirt when you'd come in from milking. So,
I'll miss him.
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember the time when we had family pictures, and when we took a picture, when we were getting ready to take the picture, Grandpa was just cuddled up in his little blanket that I had, and that's it.
Okay, my name is Kelly Noble. One of my favorite memories about Grandpa is how when I was little we always used to argue about, he'd always argue and tell me the John Deere tractors were better, and I always used to think Alice Chalmers was better because that's what my dad had. But after long enough, Cleon convinced us that John Deere was better, so now we're only John Deere's. So that's one of my favorite memories.
So mine isn't well, I guess it's a memory. When we were pregnant with our oldest, Titan, it took us a long time to try to get him here. And I remember we went over to Grandma and Grandpa's, and we were so excited, and we finally told them that we were going to be having a baby finally, and they says, well, when's your due date? And we says, well, it's going to be January 31st. And we didn't know what we were having yet. And the first thing Grandpa says, well, you can't have that baby boy in January because it's got to be born in February. All great men are born in February. So you're going to have a boy and it's got to be born in February. Because Grandpa, his dad, Grandpa, and then Chris, his only son, and then Kelly, which was his first grandson, and then our first grandchild was, well, our first son was born in February, so we were very lucky to be able to have that. So, and I think one of the things that I think memories that stands out the most is, you know, Grandma and Grandpa's always made all of us feel so welcome and so loved. They always just tell us how much they love us, and they've always welcomed me, embraced me with open arms, and
Always made it everything.
yeah,
that
and
they
always
could of
tell
ours.
and always tell
Some
to the
ours.
kids to how much they love them and give them a squeeze and all the time.
So I am Chalet Valentine. Cleon is my uncle. These are my two nieces, Claire and Nora. And Cleon had kids all of my siblings' ages and my age. I look in here, right?
Yep.
And so I grew up with all of his kids and would come spend the night at his house, and got to help milk cows in the summer when I would stay up there. Cleon loved everybody. Cleon treated everyone like one of his own. He was my favorite uncle. A couple years ago, our family came up and ran Ragnar, and we stayed at his place. And then a few years more recent, my daughter and I came up from Layton to play in a volleyball tournament, and we stayed at his place. His house was always open. His house was a house that you don't have to knock on the door. You just walk right in. Walk through the back door. It's where everyone came in. Just a great man, a great example. He had a big heart, and he left quite a legacy. And I am really proud to be part of his family, to have him as an uncle, and I love him and his family.
The most memories I have of Uncle Cleon are just being up at the house when we were little kids, and having our summer vacations there up at Grandma's, but going and playing at Aunt Nettie and Uncle Cleon's house, of him just laughing and teasing with us kids and just making us feel very, very, very welcome.
My most fun memories was, him teasing us all the time, going up there and playing when we were kids. But my fondest memories was just going in and just being a part of his milking system and just milking the cows and learning how to do all that stuff, and then playing in the hay for hours and hours. But Cleon was a leader. He taught me a lot, and He'll be missed.
He'll be missed.
So I thought of one more last night while I was sleeping, and I felt like it was a good one to share with everybody. So while I was living with Grandma and Grandpa, I remember every night after putting the girls to bed, me and Jordan would go upstairs and we would watch the news or Jeopardy with them, and Grandpa would switch back and forth between Western channels and then go back to the news and then go back to Jeopardy, and Grandma would get mad, and it was just always funny to listen to them bicker. But once we would all go to bed, I don't ever sleep at night, so I would sit on the couch at the very bottom of the stairs, either folding laundry or playing on my phone, and Grandma and Grandpa never knew this, but I could always hear their prayers every night, and became soothing to me because they prayed for every single grandchild, every single kid. There wasn't anybody left out, and they wanted to make sure every one of their family members was loved, and they prayed for them every night. And they, like I said, they never knew that I could hear them, but it became soothing every night, and I would almost wait up. If I was tired, I would wait up just to make sure that I could hear their prayers, just to kind of bring my night to a close on a peaceful note. So I wanted to let everybody know that they pray for them every night and that they love their grandchildren.